Welcome, grade 12, to today's English literacy class or lesson. We will be analyzing the drama My Children, My Africa by Ethel Fugard. Here you can see the cover of the book. The main idea for today's lesson is to illustrate to you guys the themes of My Children, My Africa, and to show that it is possible for two different genders or two different people from different backgrounds or who come from different races to come together or to unite. The aim of the lesson is to ensure that you learners get a clear understanding of the themes in Act 1, Scene 1, and that by the end of today's lesson, you'll be able to answer questions regarding the themes in Act 1, Scene 1. Now we look at the abstract. So, the drama My Children, My Africa by Ethel Fugard, performed June 27, 1989, addresses the developing tensions between the Black people and the apartheid regime. This play shows us the struggles that Black South Africans had to go through during the apartheid regime, especially in the school setting. Now, the main characters of the play are Tammy Mbikwana, Isabel Dyson, and Mr. M. This drama explores Mr. M's political philosophy and ideology that education cannot be sacrificed for political gains. So, Mr. M believes that, the best weapon you could use in any fight for freedom and equality is education. Mr. M tries to emphasize how important education is and how useful it is. Now, for the great debate. It is important for us to keep in mind that today's lesson is about the themes and not necessarily to go in depth about, the great debate. But here's just a short summary of kind of what's going on. So in Act 1, Scene 1, we see that the play opens with a debate taking place in a township called Brakwater at Zolile High School. So here, now we move on and we see Tammy Mbikwana, who is from Zolile High School, and Isabel Dyson from Kamdabu Girls High, who are the representatives for this debate or for this play. So remember, Tammy and Isabel Dyson are main characters. So these two are actually the ones who are debating amongst each other in this play. Now, moving on, Mr. M, who is the principal of Zolile High School, is the central instructor of the debate. Mr. M is another main character. Mr. M is the one who, suggested that, let's try to bring these learners together and have them, debate amongst each other and see each other's viewpoints. So now after reading out the definition of the word debate, Mr. M reads out the topic of the debate, which is whether there should be distinct educational curricula for men and women, given the fundamental physical and psychological differences between the sexes. Now, for those who don't understand, this topic is basically saying, do you think, now I'm even asking you learners today, do you think that men and women should be given different curriculum? So should they be taught different things because of their physical and psychological differences? Remember, there's the stereotype, if I can use that word, of men are physically stronger than women, or that women are more intelligent than men, which is not entirely correct, because we do see that I'm a physical not every man is stronger than women. There are women out there who are stronger physically than men. And in fact, there are so many men out there who are psychologically, so they are more intelligent than women. So obviously, this is basically what the topic of the debate um, is trying to ask. Do you think that umfazi and a man should have different curricula simply because there's a difference between their physical and psychological, means or levels, if I can say it that way? Now, in this play, we will encounter three different types of themes, which are race, friendship, as well as tradition and culture. Now, this is where you guys have to start taking serious notes, because this is a question that you could get asked in your exams or in your tests. This is a very common question, if I can say it that way. So we'll be looking into it right now. So the question is, what is a theme? What is a theme? Not what do you think a theme is. What is it? So here we see an explanation or definition. It says, a theme is the main idea of a story that carries universal truth that is explored. It gives insight into life and the human condition. Before explaining, I'll carry on into the next points. Second point says, it is a special message that a reader takes away from a story. Now, at times, themes summarize the underlying meaning of a story. Next point. It can be identified by looking at how characters give rise to challenges and how some characters respond to those challenges. Lastly, in order to be able to identify a theme, you need to understand the story as well as the role of each character in the story. Now, so basically what a theme is, it's like a message that is like, it's not forefronted. Let me say it like that. So it's not forefronted, it's not foregrounded, it's not blatantly said, it's not told, a theme is like something where you'll be like, oh, okay, so Tammy and Isabel become friends. And then when you take that and you make it a theme, what is it? It's friendship. It's the theme of friendship, because you see it as an underlying meaning or message in the story that there's friendship involved, there's race involved, there's tradition and culture involved. Do you understand? So, like, we can even look here. It says, in order to be able to identify a theme, you need to understand the story as well as the role of each character. Most of the time in plays or in stories, we see that it's usually the main characters who carry out the themes, or whose lives like give life to themes, etc., etc. So in order for you to see that there's a theme in a play or a story, you need to actually understand what is going on. Because if you don't understand, then you're just going to assume and make assumptions, and then you fail. That is how people fail. So you need to make sure that whatever you're reading, you understand it. You can, in your own free time, when someone quickly asks you a question, you can be like, oh no, this is what's happening in the story. And in that, you can actually find that, okay, so these are the themes, or this is what happens. That is not like necessarily, like spoken out or directly looked at. So you'll be like, oh, okay, I see that this and this one are slowly becoming friends. So that must be friendship. They keep emphasizing apartheid and black and white. So, which means there's, some sort of race theme involved in the play or in the book or whatever it may be that you will be reading. It's also important, matriculants. I know that you guys are matriculants, but this is a mistake most of you guys do. There's the theme you find in one play or one book is not the same as another book. Each book or each play or each story comes back with its own themes where, so for example, here you see friendship, race, tradition, and culture. Whereas in another story or in another book, you see murder, you see injustice, you see things like that, like etc. etc. So now I hope you guys understand it, and I hope you guys took notes. You know, you can always come back to this slide and take down the notes of what feels important to you. All of them are important, but obviously when you see an exam or a test, you obviously won't be writing everything that is here. Now let us move on to the themes. The first theme that we look at in today's lesson is race. Race is, how can I explain it in simple terms? Race is, I mean, you know, most people explain it like this. So it's two different skin tones or groups. So for example, there's the white race, and there's the brown, then there's the black. The black obviously are Africans, you know, general black people. I don't know how to explain it. And then I guess the whites you would say are like Afrikaans people, or you know, white Afrikaners. What can I say? The English, you see, so like people from the UK, from Europe, and then you get the brown people, which are like the Indians, and I'm not sure though. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below, but the colored people I think fall under brown people. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I'm not sure if they fall under black or brown. However, in the brown community, there's like Indians, you know, Pakistanis, etc., etc. I think you guys kind of get an idea. So race is that kind of situation, basically. So here in this play, we see that there are two main characters and one main character who is a student from Kamdabu Girls High School. And they are included in the play's opening scene. So now, being white and educated, Isabel and the two other Kamdabu Girls High School girls believe that they can, you know, impart or give wisdom to like the black students at Zulile High School. Now, these girls obviously coming back from a white background during the apartheid regime, where obviously white people were seen as more privileged. They felt the need that they should be the ones imparting wisdom on black people or brown people as well. At that time, black and brown were one. There was no division. You are Indian, so you fall under brown, and you're not black. No, we all fell under black during the time. So now the young white ladies from Kamdabu Girls High, they believe that the best way for blacks to receive wisdom or some level of intellectual intelligence is if they give it to them, which they're wrong, because black students can actually complete work just as well as white people. It goes back to the topic of the debate. Men and women are not always as people depict them. So men aren't always stronger than women, and women aren't always smarter than men. It's the same way in the setting of race. So not every white person can impart wisdom. Not every black person is, for lack of better wording, not every black person is stupid. Do you understand? You find many, 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 many intelligent black people who are able to impart wisdom on white people as well. They can do the work just as well. They can do assignments just as well. They can do work just as well, you know. So the ladies from Camden Girls High felt the need to impart wisdom on black students because they were black, and not because of anything other than that. And then we see on page 48, this now appears later in the play, but just for some context, we see that Tommy on page 48 and Mr. M are both proud of their race and their racial heritage, even if they have different ideologies about apartheid. So here are what they're trying to show us, and I know that it's not relevant to, you can move on, you can move the video along, but just for those who have gone through the book, this is just for background knowledge, that Tommy and Mr. M, who are both black, were actually proud of their races and their heritage, and their heritage that comes with their races, even though they have different ideologies about apartheid. So now here we see that it is very important to take pride in your race, but in the process of taking pride in your race and who you are, do not discriminate people from other races. Because at the end of the day, irrespective of race, irrespective of gender, we are all human beings, and we should all treat each other with respect. And remember, respect isn't just given, it is earned. Theme number 2, friendship. Towards the end of Act 1, Scene 1, we see that there's a beautiful friendship developing between Tommy and Isabel. I say this because we begin, like, they're able to speak to each other, even though they're coming from different races, different backgrounds, privileged and underprivileged, things like that. They are able to actually, irrespective of their race, just imagine during the apartheid times, openly sharing your opinions and respecting someone else's opinions, even though they are the ones who are causing you suffering. It shows their level of maturity, that not every white person is to blame for apartheid. However, it doesn't, you shouldn't treat someone badly because of their race. So whether they are white, black, or brown, we should all respect each other. It goes back to what I just said. Respect each other. Respect is such a beautiful thing. So just respect each other, irrespective of your race, irrespective of your gender, irrespective of your background, whether you're rich, you're poor, middle class, it doesn't matter. Respect, respect, respect. So Tammy and Isabel showed each other this respect, and hence we see the start of a friendship, right? Because they are able to share their opinions with each other. Now for the last theme, tradition and culture. So remember that tradition and culture have just one main difference, and I'll read it here. It says, the main difference between culture and tradition is that traditions describe a group's beliefs and behaviors that are passed down from generation to generation. So tradition are things that are passed down, so things that we'll do. So for example, if you're Zulu or you're Xhosa, maybe if you have you have to pay things like ilobol, right? I don't know how many other cultures do this, but I'm just using these ones for close reference. But they okay, mostly we see this mostly in the black community, where people pay ilobola. Ilobola, for those who don't know, it's when a man and a woman want to get married, the man has to pay. This sounds so wrong, but a man has to pay to be with that woman. So for example, he'll go to the female's family side, the men. So you'll find the uncles, the father, etc., etc., the men, and then they will dictate that, you know what, we actually want 20 cows before we release our daughter to you for marriage. So, and a thing that people, I know I might be falling off here. I just want to have you guys, even if you're writing an exam, you can kind of, remember and pick up on this. So it's very important for people to understand that ilobola, when people pay lobola, you are not buying the bride. You're actually, kind of asking her hand in marriage. And in paying lobola, you're kind of proving that, you know what, I can actually take care of your daughter. No matter what, I'll be able to take care of her. The same way right now, I am showing you that I can get you these cows because I love your daughter so much. And so forth. Okay. Anyways, I'm falling off. Now we look at culture. So culture describes the shared characteristics of the entire group, which has been amassed throughout its history. So when we look at culture, it's like the characteristics of it. So like for example, in tradition, like at a traditional wedding, right? Obviously, traditional wedding is what? Tradition. However, not everyone has to have a traditional wedding, which takes away from the word traditional wedding. Anyway, so in a traditional wedding, it's part of their culture. Do you understand? So it's like culture is like a part of tradition. So culture is part of like tradition in the sense that at a traditional wedding, it is part of culture to wear traditional clothes, right? So obviously at a traditional wedding, you can't come wearing just anything. It has to be traditional clothes, which brings the cultural aspect into these themes. Now on to the main point of this theme. During the debate, both Tammy and Isabel refer to tradition and culture in their closing arguments. Now remember, a theme is an underlying a story, or like it's something that's underlying in a story or a play. So here they're not directly saying you cannot be chained to your tradition and culture. Here Isabel says one cannot be chained to their past. And now remember, looking into what tradition and culture is, it's something that's taken from generation to generation. And in this play, we see that Tammy respects, like he bases his argument on his culture and his traditions. All right, so that is his basis of argument. So Isabel is trying to tell him that not everything that you're opinionated on should be based on your tradition and culture, right? So this is also after Tammy makes fun of women, saying that women belong in the kitchen or belong at home. That is a tradition or culture that we've seen in many households, especially, and I'm black, right? And I'm black. We see this mainly in black households where where a woman is forced to be a housewife. I'm not saying in other obvious racial backgrounds or houses that there's no housewives. I'm just saying that according, like when we look at history, especially during the time of apartheid, women, even the jobs that they got jobs that involved cooking and cleaning, or being a nurse if you were lucky or blessed enough. So him saying that, he's basically taking it from his tradition or his culture, what he's seen on play, like in his tradition and in his culture, and he's obviously using it in this play. So moving on, Mr. M asserts that the young must submit to the authority of their elders in accordance with African customs. Once again, we see the theme of tradition and culture, because African customs is basically telling us that you need to live according to your tradition, according to what we've taught in our culture, what has been brought down from generation to generation in our traditions. So this is where we now see this theme of tradition and culture at play in Act 1, Scene 1.